Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Rio Grande. I've been fortunate for the past two episodes that I've hosted to have Jude Myers, the superintendent of our Gallia County local schools. He's an incredible leader in our region, a champion for excellence in education, and he's been with us for the last 2 weeks, or 2 episodes, I should say. There are a lot that's been covered on the Voice of Rio Grande since I was here last, but I'm pleased to continue this line of amazing guests that we've had. We're fortunate to have an impressive Rio alum with us today, the 3-term Jackson mayor, 22-year executive director of the Jackson Area Chamber of Commerce, and a dear, dear friend. Randy Heath is here today as my guest. Thank you so much for joining us, Randy.
Well, thank you very much. It's certainly an honor to be here, and the University of Rio Grande has always been very, very important to me, and I know how incredibly important this university and especially the community college is to all of my residents in Jackson.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And I know we have a lot of ground to cover. Whenever Randy and I get together, there is not a moment to spare. We always have a lot to talk about, and I know this will be no different. You always have so many plates spinning, Randy, and I really want you to introduce yourself better than I could, because I won't do justice to the many hats that you wear. But let's see if I can lay a little bit of a foundation. As I mentioned in the introduction, you're an alumnus of Rio, and you always speak so highly of what you experienced here, but not just you personally, but what you've heard so many other people say. And I've heard your story a number of times about your entry into higher education, and I never get tired of it. So will you share some information about your journey? I mean, what led you into and through Rio, and anything you want to add kind of leading up to that?
Well, when I started to college originally, I was like everybody else, had an awful lot of interest. And about a couple years into my college degree, I had a chance to go work full-time at a newspaper. I love journalism. I will always be a journalist at heart, whatever other jobs I do. That's always been very important to me, and had a chance to make some money and do some things, so I decided to kind of put my education on hold. And then, to be truthful, about 15 years after I graduated from high school, I had the opportunity, kind of had a break in the journalism, and I wanted to complete my degree here in mathematics. And of course, there is not an individual that I respect any more on the face of this earth in education than Dr. Mike Rhodes in the math department. He has been a dear friend and somebody that I just idolize, the way that he can communicate with students and get that across. And I wanted to make sure I could get every class I could under him. It wasn't easy, but you certainly learned a lot. And I know he's always had a very warm place in his heart for the students of this region. And so I was able to finish my college degree, and although it was in mathematics, I had a chance then to re-enter the journalism field. My best friend was editor, says, "Gotta have you." I says, "Okay." And it allowed me to stay in Jackson, because where I applied my trade was more important to me than maybe what I did. And so I was able to stay in Jackson, and fortunately I'm still there today.
That's awesome. You know, I think that we could kind of spend probably this whole show talking about some of the memories that you have and the people that touched your life and really helped shape you, like people like Mike Rhodes. But I know that our audience would be fascinated to hear about some of the other experiences and aspects of your life. And so let's start with your career. You were talking about journalism, kind of past, present, and I know there's a future, because although you have a lot of hats that you wear, you seem to be everywhere, and you're still connected to kind of the sports world, all of that. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, last April, although I've not written many articles lately, I completed my 4th term as the president of the Ohio Prep Sports Writers Association. I believe I might be the only 4-term president, and I was the youngest person that was inducted into their Sports Writers Hall of Fame many years ago. I still have a very close relationship, and that's the aspect of sports writing that I like, because it's covering those young people in high school. They're not getting paid, they're not getting anything. They're just going out there and working their hearts out, day and night, to represent their school, to represent their community. And I've just always had such a great respect for young people, and especially, you know, those who want to go out there and give the extra mile. And that has really been the true heart and soul of my journalism career. I mean, I've covered other things, you know, very good things, and I've, you know, covered, you know, terrible things. But no, but to be able to cover, you know, our young people and doing something positive and showing that if you do something positive, it counts. And I think that that's always been true to me, and I still do. I do a lot of historical work, both for our district. For those who've went to the Ohio University tournament games, I'm the one that does all those little history boxes for about 72 different schools, boys and girls, and have probably the biggest high school history sports collection in the state.
My goodness, I always learn something new about something you have up your sleeve or you have done. And you know, one of the things, Randy, I think about when you come to my mind, I think about the passion and the commitment that you have for Jackson County. I mean, you've talked about youth, and you've talked about you know, the work that you've done in journalism and your work as mayor. What I see is a real deep and sincere passion for Jackson, and it really, I think it just kind of comes out of your pores. But can you talk to us a little bit about your support of community and business development as you've led as executive director of the Jackson Area Chamber of Commerce for what, 22 years now?
Yes. Well, when I became the director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I really wanted to you know, complement our other efforts, because we've had a lot of wonderful people serve as our, you know, main county economic development director, like Jennifer Jacobs is in that position now, a wonderful person. And I've always kind of said, you bring them to Jackson. And then once they get here, I want to show them how good our community is. And I was kind of fortunate when I was hired. The president of the Chamber of Commerce, as a matter of fact, myself and Jennifer started the same day. She started as my executive secretary. And the president took us into our new office, looked at us both and goes, good luck. Go, oh, okay. So I was sort of able to, very fortunately, mold the direction I wanted to take it. I didn't have to follow somebody else or don't do this or don't do that. Kind of, you know, make this your own. And I've just been very fortunate. The programs we've had, our Business Spring Showcase about the last weekend and every March, we have sometimes 60 to 70 local businesses exhibits there. That's been a very, very popular event to have over 500 people. Our Christmas decoration program, we've raised probably over $50,000 since I've started. We have over, I think we think now over 130 of the decorations that hang on the utility poles, plus a decoration in our city park we're looking at refurbishing this year. And a part of it is just to give, when you come to Jackson, you know, this is the kind of community I want to be at. You know, this is good because Jackson, I've tried to tell everybody, yes, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere, but we're in the middle of everywhere too. How close we are to Charleston, to Huntington, to Columbus, to Dayton, to Cincinnati. So, you know, you can still go do all those things. You got great 4-lane highways to go do all those things. But then you can come back to the peace and quiet of Appalachia. And I think that's really what draws. And I mean, I have to owe everything to my parents. You know, they taught me that you give to others. Others are more important than yourself. And that has always been a very key motto that I followed. And I've been fortunate to be in a position all my life that I've been able to do that. And people have given me the opportunity.
Well, I can attest to that. I have seen you do that time and time again, and that is really special, and it means a lot for the communities. And I think that, you know, if all of that doesn't inspire us enough, you're in your 3rd term as mayor, and that's not an easy job. No. You know, there is a lot that you face there, but I have seen you time and time again take the challenges and say, how can we do better and how can we do more and take care of the people that we have in Jackson. What can you share as maybe some of your most proud moments as mayor in that leadership role?
Well, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that maybe are not evident, but one of our key controls or key components is our utility systems, which a lot of people, you know, the lights came on when I got up this morning. When I went in to take a bath, the water came and it was clean. And, you know, when I had to get rid of the wastewater, there was a place for it to go. And sometimes you don't think of every integral step that you have to do that, not only for you, but for every business, for every industry.
Right.
And we have been able to really do quite well with our utilities. We've been able to stabilize them funding-wise. I mean, it's not easy. A lot of people want your utility programs to be, you know, social efforts. And they just can't be social programs. I mean, they are a very hardcore business. And especially with your water and sewer, we have to meet a great number of Environmental Protection Agency, you know, mandates. So that's really one of the keys, because if you don't have good electric service, if you don't have, you know, good water, we've got 2 lakes we draw from. You don't have a way to, you know, get rid of your wastewater properly.
Right.
And for our electric system, we are the only major community in southeastern Ohio that has its own electrical distribution system. And it allows us, if there's a problem, to immediately address it. A few summers ago, we had what was called a derecho, a major windstorm go through. And almost every community throughout southern Ohio, most of it was out of electric for about 6 days.
Wow.
Our town, the majority of it was out for 6 hours.
Wonderful.
It was on a Friday night, on a Saturday morning. I can still remember we was the only community that basically had a full functioning business district because they had electric.
Oh, and I don't think a lot of people know that. I mean,
No, it's something which, you know, thank goodness it was on, but to be the fact that everybody who lived in Jackson County had then came to Jackson so they could have electric and live with their brother or their mother or their cousin.
Right.
I think they realized then the value of our electrical system. And really that is the core to any industrial development. I mean, when they come in, the first thing they're going to ask, if you don't have the electrical capacity for us, sorry, you're off the list. If you don't have enough water, which a lot of people, I mean, the majority of our utilities are used by non-residential customers. Matter of fact, about 80% of our electric is sold to non-residential customers.
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's, very interesting. We're learning a lot today. I'm Michelle Johnston, president at the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College, and my guest today is Randy Heath. He has a number of titles, one of which is Mayor of Jackson, and so we'll return after a short break. Welcome back. I'm here today with Randy Heath. He is the mayor of Jackson. He also has a number of other titles. His leadership role as director of the Jackson Area Chamber of Commerce. He has many kinds of activities, volunteer and jobs and everything in between that he does. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the economic development part of things. Before we went to the break, we were talking about that and what attracts businesses and kind of keeps you on the list and helps the area, the region grow economically. What do you see on the horizon for Jackson from your vantage point, maybe both as mayor and with the chamber and with the economic development partnership? What do you see on the horizon?
Well, I think one of the big questions these days, and this is where the University of Rio Grande plays such an integral role, is how do we prepare our workforce? And, you know, and to have a university like this that is so close. And I've always said this, you know, to each his own. And for example, I was one who always kind of liked to stay in Jackson, and I commuted, you know, my entire career. And I know that for a lot of people, living on campus due to family obligations or something like that, you know, it's just not an option. And to have the community college and this university this close, where you can have these professors, you know, that teach you from day one, and helping to develop our workforce is just absolutely critical, and I think one of our great selling points, that we have, you know, a university like this, and developing the workforce, making sure that it's what people want. Before we went on the air, I was talking about the development of the new space side industry in Jackson that builds bourbon barrels. But we already had a good workforce from when we had a cabinet factory. They knew how to work with wood. They knew how to work with wood products. And that was very important. So, you know, you have to look at your base. You have to give it the variety, you know, that it needs, the diversity. And I just think that those are really important aspects if you're going to build an economy. And hopefully, I mean, we have some wonderful school districts in our area. And, you know, with Rio Grande here, it really, I think, gives us a leg up in trying to sell our community. And I think the space side industry started out 35 jobs, now over 100 jobs, making over 500 barrels a day.
Oh, wow.
So, and of course we have right there in Jackson, Belicio Foods, shipping out some like 2 million food packages a day. So, you know, 1,300 employees. So sometimes you don't realize, but then again, you know, our utility system, you know, they have to have everything right now, which obviously they do. So, but I think as far as the workforce has continued to develop, so we do have a more diverse workforce, and we can bring in other types of employment that will even more greatly stabilize our workforce and our future.
Well, please know what a committed partner we are. Because,
oh, I know that.
I think that everything you said, you put it so well, and the importance of having those employees ready and that they're educated, and we think that our special type of education that we provide here should be really attractive to business and industry, and what a business and industry hub that Jackson has really become in our area. You know, we not only have the campus here in Rio Grande, we also have opened a center in Jackson, and we were proud to be together. Thank you for being there at our open house that we had at the end of July.
Even though I was 15 minutes late with the ribbon, yes.
But you had the ribbon, and you had some really large scissors.
Yes,
and
that's
those
true.
were awesome. So, you know, one of the things that we've seen is just the real outpouring of support in the Jackson community, countywide, in Jackson itself, for us to be there, and we're really proud to be there.
Well, I think one of the things we look at is that this area, I mean, the reason why Belicio Foods came and its predecessors, we are within 1 day's drive of 2/3 of the population of the United States. And if you looked at once they finish US 35 between Point Pleasant and Charleston, that last 15 miles, if you live in Jackson, you're going to have direct 4-lane access to 7 interstate highways in less than 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
You know, you've got 70 and 71. Up in Columbus, you've got 74 and 75. Over by Cincinnati, you've got 79 over by Marietta. Then you've got 64, 77, and 79 down Charleston. So, you know, you can get your products out, and that is just, you know, such a critical factor today.
Oh gosh, location, isn't it? You know, one of the things that we have been really excited to talk about as we've been in the communities preparing for our election that is on November the 7th, and Rio has a levy on the ballot. And one of the things, especially in Jackson County, that we've shared is that one out of every four higher education degrees earned by Jackson County residents is from Rio. And I think when you start looking at some of those things and the partnerships we have and the collective effort that we put forth for our communities, employers, I think it's really pretty powerful. You know, one of the things too to add to that is that 75% of our student body typically comes from our 4-county region. That's been historically what has occurred, although we have students from 70 different counties in Ohio, 18 states, and 22 countries. Still 75% of our student body comes from Gallia, Jackson, Meigs, and Vinton counties. And when you look at that and you say, okay, well, How does Jackson really fare in all that? Over the last 3 years, we had 658 Jackson County residents apply for admission to Rio. And when you look at that, the number of the students that enroll is from Jackson County outpaces any of our other counties. And so I think everything you've said really plays into that and kind of supports the work that we do together to really support the community.
Well, it's always wonderful, and I mean, I try to tell a lot of our young people, of course, I'm around them all the time by my public address announcing, by the coaching I do and things like that. But I try to tell them, you know, if you're not really certain, you know, maybe what you want to do, Rio Grande can help you find out what you want to do. They can help you, you know, determine. I mean, they can sit there and talk, well, I think your interests lie in this area.
Right.
And I think that that's one of the really key things is you don't have to go far. You don't have to go, you know, 100 miles away, then find out, oh, geez, after 3 weeks, that wasn't for me. That you have a chance, that you have a pace down here and a chance to learn at your pace.
Right.
That it's not something, you know, where you're put in like with 300 other kids and rush through and you either go at their pace or you don't go at all.
Right.
And to me, that's always been the greatest value of Rio Grande has been, you know, that personal attention that you're going to get here that you might not get anyplace else, but you are going to get it here because it does, I mean, this is Appalachia. This is the way we live. And a number of students in the 4-county area, this is where we feel comfortable. And I just really think that that's, you know, very, very important to so many young people in our area. You know, at age 18, I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do, but if I go to Rio Grande, they will help point me in the right direction.
Well, I tell you, you put that perfectly, and I didn't pay you to do that.
No,
that
you did
comes
not.
from the heart, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And I appreciate that. You know, I know you have a reputation in this area of being a little bit competitive.
Slightly.
And yeah, you've done a great deal of coaching in the Jackson area. What drives you to do that? With all this spare time you must have, my goodness, what drives you there, Randy?
Well, this year, I thought I had retired from coaching. I've done all my coaching on the recreation department level. And I thought I had retired as coach many years ago, but about 4 years ago, we need a coach for our 12U girls softball program. And I'd done that the last 4 years, and the last game I coached this year as a volunteer coach was game number 610.
Whoa.
And this is my 27th year as a public address announcer for Jackson High School sporting events. But these young people are what gives me life. They are what inspires me. I mean, the young ladies that I've had the privilege of coaching these last 4 years are really the most special group of kids I think maybe I've ever been around. And many of them, I mean, we're still friends. I mean, we're friends just, you know, like they have friends in school. I'm friends with them. And we have such a deep respect for each other. And it really makes me encouraged. You know, we see that there was a bad apple here or a bad apple there. I'm going to tell you that from the young people that I deal with in Jackson, we are so incredibly lucky. And they are sensitive to the world. They are sensitive to the things that are going on. And but just to be able to work with them, to see them grow. I mean, more importantly than any, to see them have fun. Because there's so many times out there today you look and you go, where's the joy?
Right.
Where's the fun? And if you can help these young people grow in that area and grow to know my childhood was fun, I had fun, life can be fun, it's going to be work, but there can be joy there too. And if you can contribute to somebody, and I know I've had people come up that I coached 20 years ago, I mean, even say, hey coach.
Yeah.
Hey coach.
Right.
So if you can develop friendships like that last a lifetime, you've probably done something right.
I think so. What a neat way for us to kind of close this show. We always, I mean, it's like we just started, and we have a lot of other things we could talk about, and I hope you'll come back.
If you invite me, I would be happy to come back.
Perfect, because I always love to hear about the great things you're doing, what you're up to, and the good work. because you know, you're doing it for all the right reasons. You know, I always try to end the show by asking my guests for some words of wisdom, and you've shared some with us throughout this. It's been very motivational, but is there a one item you'd like to leave us with today in terms of something, a guiding principle or some life lesson that could help us all?
I've just always put other people ahead of myself. And I've just, primarily because that's the way Mom and Dad raised me. And I always saw them do that. And I've just always loved to be able, if someone needed help, to be able to go home at night, you know what, I helped somebody laugh, I helped somebody smile, I helped somebody be a better person. And if you can do that on a daily basis and find at least one way to do that every day, then I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. That's excellent. Thank you so much for being here. Always a treat. Appreciate you so much. It was great. It was great. Enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time on The Voice of Rio Grande.